Welcome to another video. On Saturdays, we do a top 10 list of stocks you need to look at on the week. Usually they seem to have been faring pretty well considering even what's going on with the markets. And I'm going to tag on a couple points today. First and foremost, I would subscribe and turn on your notifications. And very simply, some of these stocks are doing exceptionally well. I don't have time with the newsletter and professionally trading to constantly update everything in a dynamic sense. So by subscribing and clicking the notifications, you can look at these, and my advice is just create a watch list. Get the names. You don't have to keep watching the video. You can for the actionable points, like save the video, but just create a watch list and start watching these during the day and start seeing if they work. And for those of you that work, obviously, just look at the end of the day. But just to get into it, last week, and I'm not going to go through all 10 of them and how they performed last week, but last week, Monday, we recommended BNTX, said that it looks like it was going to go, 27% move. So we're going to go through the top 10, and then at the end of the video, I want to give you an idea on how you might want to trade some of these secondary and tertiary names that are getting hammered and then having bounces and then getting hammered again. There's a little change that's going on in the market right now, and I'm just going to explain what it is at the end of the video, and it should make your profitability go up just a little bit. And all we're always trying to do is find edges, right? So let's just hop right into it and just start going through the top 10. So these are in no order whatsoever, but the first one is AMAT, and I'm going to remove this segment line, and I just want to point this out for a minute. We're going to get rid of all these indicators. Okay, so everybody knows that semiconductor shortage is going on right now. You're looking for this swing bar, but let's remove this arrow for a moment, and let's just look at the price and exactly what's transpiring here. Okay, it goes through the same thing every time. 1, 2, it actually goes all the way back to here. 1, 2, 3, 4 times this stock has hit the upper trend, bounced, and what has it done 4 times from there? 1, 2, 3, setting up the fourth, right? So it has bounced along these lines. Now, if you look at this and you look at this trend, okay, this is setting up. Now, you could come back to this level. You could come down here, but considering the strength of the semis, I think you're going to hold the 21-day. This is not something you have to jump into today. You need it to trigger. But I would point out that, frankly, we're still in this uptrend on the RSI as well. Now, with that said, you need to get above this 5-day, and we're going to drill into this so that you can see this a lot clearer. And let's turn off this background for a moment so you can see a lot clearer here. And what you're going to be looking for is a move above this bar. It's all you're looking for, okay? You're looking for a move above this bar. Why is that important? I'm going to show you why that's important. You have a trend here that you have not been able to break. It just keeps selling down every day, which is fine. All it's doing is going to the support line, and it hit the top of the channels it did 4 times. Now, what do? You need it to trigger. You need to see that you have more buying than selling. Simple enough, right? See how you opened here? Let's really get into this so you can see what I'm talking about. So you opened right on this trend line, and boom, came down, rejected, closing below this, rejected, closing below this again. But what's happening to these bars? They're getting smaller and smaller, aren't they? So this is setting up and telling you that it's setting up. Now, you need a higher high. Use 136 is where I would be looking. And you can see this when you get to that 136. You can see this go to the top of this range again. And by the time you got there, frankly, it's not going to happen right away. The top of that range is going to be 150, 152. I mean, candidly, it's just roll it up a little bit. It's actually higher. So you're more towards the 2133 level. Yeah, I mean, there's 21, 22 points here. I think this makes a lot of sense. And you can be using, from your entry, just as long as you're above the 21, you're fine. The bulls are in charge as long as you're above the 21-day. So this is the first one to take a look at. And I'm doing these in alphabetical order. And the last 2 at the end are going to have nothing to do with the buy list, but I just want to show people a different way they need to be looking at things. So everybody knows this name because we've all been watching it. And what we're going to do here is turn this off And we're going to get rid of everything here. And we're going to start over. And I just really want to point this out. And I really don't like how this doesn't allow me to bring the trade over more. So I'm just going to go to a 30-minute and see if that brings it more in the market. And it really doesn't. So we're going to go to a 15. And I'll mark it from there. So that's as far as I'm going to be able to get it over. So Coinbase, I think this has a potential. And I'm just going to walk you through that move. So there are two key areas on this that you need to look at. And frankly, I don't even need candlesticks. You're just going to use bars on this one, okay? And we're going to really, now that you know what it is, it's coin, we're really going to blow this up. You're aware that the high is the 420 area, but just look at what's going on here with the demand. Okay, this 345.99 line, that's going to be your pivot bar. If you get above this 345.99, okay, this probably ignites. Why do I say that? Okay, we have not had a close above this line since we started. Okay, it just has not happened. Not since that first day and the first about hour. We have not had a close above this line. If that happens, it's going to ignite. Now, the other issue that you need to watch with this, then we're going to expand these out and turn these indicators on for just a moment and expand them. And I'm going to recommend that you look at VWAP, which I don't always recommend that you do, but I'm going to look at and recommend that you look at VWAP when you trade this as well. And now let's just open this up even more so you can see. And I said this about 2 days ago, start looking at it when it breaks above VWAP. And you can see when we broke here on the day, how we did. And it came up. It's done well every time it's done above VWAP. So you just have to pay attention to that. When it broke below it, it was simple. Get out, reset itself up. This is almost a Morningstar pattern if we're looking at candles. And you can just see the break and the turn here, right? And then it turns and it keeps going, but now you're above this. 346 is your level on this. Because if you break that level, you don't really have any other areas over here that you should have an interest in. So, I mean, you really don't have anything, as you can see. I'm trying to move this around to get this left part of it in. But you really don't have any issues. So, that said, I mean, you have this little bar here, 349, but there's nothing there. It's an opening bar. That's not going to be your issue. Also, just to point out on coin, you have the, look at this, right? You have a positive divergence going on here. Now, what is that positive divergence? Right here. See how this point is higher than this point? That's a positive divergence. So you want to see this, and you also have a trend that's going up on your RSI. So RSI is a leading indicator, and that's why I push it a lot and tell people to look at it. It can give you some guidance on what may happen. So it's not a be-all, end-all, but it's one that data point, and the more data points you have, the better off you are. So that's the second one. ETHE, and let's get back into the candles, and let's get back into the dailies, and we're going to drill down into the weeklies actually on this one. So we're not there yet, and I walked through this in yesterday's weekend wrap video, so people might have known that it was coming for the top 10 list. But what's going on right here is pretty significant. And let's open this back up, and let's get rid of VWAP because it's not relevant for what we're going to go over here. So what I was going over was, here's this bull flag. We rally to this level. We reject it. We bounce off. But you see this trend line that's slicing here? See how we bounced off of that? That trend line goes all the way back to here. Okay, that goes all the way back a year. Okay, and now that trend line is starting to become support. That's what you want to see. You want to see support lines, trend lines start flipping from resistance to support. Just try to remember that it is important. So what's happening, we're just building a flag, aren't we? Here's like your little flagpole, and you're just building a flag right up under resistance. These usually end with a push through and a breakout. Where you run into an issue with these is when they just go straight up. Then they usually come back and backfill. But if you build a flag underneath this, you're just building a small base before liftoff. So I would really watch this, and as people have seen this before and are aware of this, and I'm just showing the ETHE because it's a stock, Obviously, anyone can do the crypto if they want to. It's 6 and 1/2 to me. I really don't care. But just look at what's going on here. Here's what we were talking about from June on the weekly, right? And let's blow this up a little bit more so people can see this. But I really want to keep this point in up here. Okay, so you can see what I'm talking about on that line. But also look at this. If you can get above that 24.98 and you can close above it, that's the highest close that you've had since this has traded. Since this came out and was trading, it's pretty significant stuff. So if we see that, I would be all over it. There's a couple other key things to pay attention to here. Look at the volume and how the volume's increasing. Look how your volume line, which takes 30 points, right? So this is 30 weeks, has been slowly increasing this whole time. And we broke the downtrend, and you can see what's going on here. And now look at my RSI. My RSI is in an uptrend. So this is telling you, that we have a really good shot of breaking this 25. And when you do, over time, it's not going to happen in a day. It's not Dogecoin, but when this goes up, you can see 65, 67, 68 in time. So definitely put this on your radar and watch that 25 line. It's very important. So people are really aware of this one. We've been in and out of this, and I'm just going to state this now. It's something I'm going to lead into it in a little bit. The larger cap stocks are going to continue to work until the volume increases in the market. And I'll say it again. The larger cap stocks are going to work until volume increases in the market. It's just a fact. The shorts are having a field day. The algos are having a field day with retail right now. So the majority of stocks that you're going to see, not all, but the majority of stocks that we're going to go over, they're going to be large cap or ETFs so that we can get rid of the crap and just focus on what's really going on in the market and not deal with the daily fluctuations. So this is about as large cap as you can get in fintech to me. Okay, I like this idea a lot on the weekly, and I'm just going to walk through it on the weekly, and then we're going to drill down into the daily. You have a huge bounce off this 115 area that held. We never got anywhere near the lower end of this bar again. It has not happened. Not only have you not done that, you now have two inside weeks in this bar. So this is setting up, and when you set up like that over 2 weeks, and now we're going to show it in the daily, when you start doing this, you're setting up for a pretty powerful move. So where's that trigger move? Well, to me, it's the top of this wick. That's where I would look at it, okay? Now, some people are not going to want to wait for 165, and I understand that, especially when you're at 153. So what you can do is know that level's there, 164.50 on FUTU, because it's important. But what we can do is just review smaller levels on the daily chart to show us what we need to look at. So this 160 level is important, right? But where are we? Let's really get into this. Where can we get even a better price? Well, we have to get the best price possible. Where would that be? It would be getting above the open here. Because when you got above the open here, all you did was sell straight down. Let me blow this up so you can see what I'm talking about. You see how we opened and then closed and went all the way down? Same with this. Opened and closed, went all the way down, and it was just a mess ever since. These kinds of bars, you need to pop above and see if you can get the momentum out of. So, that said, if you want to be a little more risky, you're really looking at a 158, I call them BPAs, buying price area. But you're really looking at a 158 area. Some people are going to wait for the 160. I'm always trying to figure out how to get an edge and how to get ahead of people. The other part of why that's important, that area, you have a little wedge right there. Okay, so breaking that gets you above that wedge as well, which is going to get a whole other slew of buyers. What's fascinating to me on this, and I really like this part of the trade, see this volume line? Look how it's coming in. Volume's just gone away. It's completely dried up. Nobody's buying this or paying attention to it. It's actually fallen off a cliff. But the stock's not going down. It's not falling off a cliff. That tells you that the selling is exhausted. So you could see this break this level. And again, the area that I've been looking for is to get back to this. I'm just going to drop this back down here. This 2 of 425 line. So now this is one that we really haven't paid attention to before. It is smaller, so it's going to be rare that I'm going to really show the smaller ones now, but this is just classic. This is classic stuff. It's really what you want to see. So GRBX, or BK, I apologize, GRBK, and let's just get really into this one. Okay, here's your price point, right? That's what you have to get above, 2703. See your, look, see your flag? Okay, this looked like it was going to be a bear flag, right? What did it do? It rejected that, and look at the volume that came in here. Okay, look at your volume that came in here versus what's been going on. See how the volume dried up very much like what we saw in Futu? And then boom. So breaking that 27 is big. Now, where does that take us to? Well, that's an interesting point. And where you're really looking at going, and that's one of the reasons why I like this idea. This trend, okay, continues. And I'm just going to shrink this down, open it up. Okay. Breaking through this 28 can give us a huge move here. Okay. It could get us up to this line. Okay. Could give us 37, 38%. So I like the idea, GRBK, and look at the trajectory that I'm seeing here, right? This is exactly what you want to see. We're constantly making higher highs on the RSI. Now, if you drill this down into a weekly, I mean, it just doesn't get any prettier. It really is. It's just a beautiful chart. It's like, what should you buy kind of chart, right? Look at, you have a hammer bar at the end of the week closing at the high. This is something you need to pay attention to. And you can use that price point that we just went over as your swing trade. But you can see where I'm going with this. And you can see, why we could get to 35. Even if you just did a simple count from 20, the 27 break or the 25 break to here, gives you that 8 points. So you can see how you're still even, doing a simple count like that could get you there. And there's a really good chance that this is going to work with how the volume and the selling just went away and how the buying's coming in. So put that on your list. This is one that, I'm surprised that I'm looking at, but it can't be overlooked what's going on here. And it's just staggering what's going on. I mean, it's just not finding any rest whatsoever. So let's throw in these indicators because in here I find them relevant. Okay, so you've just been respecting these lines. Like these lines are setting up to just be perfect, like something out of a technical book, right? Where they're just going straight up and they're going up and they're arcing at 45 degrees, which is, like a dream. And that's what you want to see. Okay, look at how the trajectory of these lines are changing. So in other words, yes, this does happen when they start to move up, but the trajectory of each moving average line, okay, is actually greater in order. That's a very powerful thing and very rare to see. When you see this, it just means that you're seeing massive buying over a very short period of time. And that's exactly what's going on here. This gapped up open, and just look at this so you understand where I'm going with this. You gapped up off the open, okay? You closed over this high on the day, okay? Tested it, didn't close, closed on it. Next day, this high now becomes, we open there, test it, this high, this line now becomes support, which is supposed to do. Flips, and we close at the high. Look at this volume, okay? This is 4 or 5 times the volume that we've seen. Now, with that said, let's draw this back a little bit so you can see where we're going with this to kind of give you an idea. And I'm just going to give you a really simple way to do this. If you take a look at the base and you go to the bottom of the base, okay, you get 17 points. Okay, just a real simple count means that you could go here, flip this, and just say, oh, okay, so based upon that, without being overextended, we could go up 17 points. Okay, that's a rough way to give you a sense of where you could go to. So this has the possibility of 85, 86, and if I drew these trend lines in, you could see that how that's just really very, very feasible, and you're not even overextended unless it happens in a very short period of time. This is more of a slow mover, but this is going to work. Very low beta. No one's paying attention to it. Kind of stuff you should be looking at right now. No. So everybody knows this name, and I've been talking about it for some time and just waiting and waiting, and I think we're getting there, and I'm going to explain why. So let's get rid of all these indicators, and let's just look at price. So if you go all the way back, we have respected this trend line since March, during the pandemic. Okay, we broke it here, and then we popped back in it finally, and now we've been riding this downward trend. Okay, this is setting up to break. See how we came down and then rallied and hit it again? Usually it's the first time you don't do it, the second time you usually do. See how this is getting tighter and tighter in here, this whole section? And I can highlight that. Hold on one second. We'll highlight that right here. Okay. See how that section in here is getting tighter and tighter? That's exactly what you want to see. Okay. I still stand behind a breakout of this at this level. Roughly 255 can put you towards the higher end of here, and there's 75 points. This needs to be on your list. This really looks like it's going to move. Now, we've had, if you can see this, you've seen all this buying going on, and then when the selling volume comes in, it's completely dried up, which is exactly what you want to see. So SC is on the list, and now we're on to, we have two more, and then I would really like to go over this one simple trading strategy that you might want to look at. SQ has been on the list. We're in at 259. It's traded to 275, 280 since we've been in it. I've not issued any kind of sell on it yet. I'm comfortable with what's going on here, and I still think that this is even an interesting spot to buy it. So I understand the 5 and the 8 are down, but I'm just coming up here, tested a support, coming back, testing a resistance, testing a support at 252, right? Give me a higher high on this bar of 255, or hold on one second, that's wrong. Where is that? 250, what's this bar? Why am I having a hard time with this? 263, there it is, I apologize. So when you see that number, the 263 flip, off of that, you could look at buying this again. Breaking this little wedge, let's get rid of these indicators. So you can see here, break that, and then you'd head right back to this 284 level and test it again. Usually the first time doesn't work, it's usually the second time. And I think that's what you're seeing here. And this is setting up. This is setting up very nicely. This volume, this above average volume, has not been drowned out at all by red volume on these days. And volume on Friday was just absolutely anemic, so I don't really consider it. Finally, well, there's two more. So let's go through them. So this TQQ, I know it's not exciting. I know it's not sexy. It's 3X ETF. We've been talking about it for weeks. We talked about it here March 9th, when we were in the newsletter. And the newsletter is free, comes out 3 times a week, and there's a link in the description and bio for it. Trying to give ideas, stock ideas, and color commentary. We go over the stock market. You can see, let's get rid of this for a moment. Okay, so this was the low. Test this line, bounced, rallied, right? Everyone knows what the Qs did. In the newsletters, I was explaining what's going on here, and I'm going to explain it here very briefly. See these gaps? 1 gap, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, I can point them out, but you should be able to see them, right? Here, and let's go here, put an arrow on this. And reverse this so it makes sense. So you can see these and understand where I'm going with it. 3, right? And here's 4. Okay, and here's 5. All right, this does not happen. This is very rare. If you go through and look at these charts, yeah, you'll have gaps and runaway gaps. It usually leads to explosive moves up. And you can see that even back here, 1, 2, 3. Here are these gaps. If you look at the Qs and you look at the gaps, you'll never see them. You see it in the TQQ because it's a 3X ETF. I still believe that this is setting up for a much larger move. My first target on this is the 120 line. I think you're going a lot higher. Now, The reason I bring this up is a lot of people are having trouble out there with what's going on in the market. They're buying stocks, the market's going higher, and then understanding why they are losing money. I'm going to get into what's going on in about 2 minutes. But if you look at this, and you just were trading this for the past 2 weeks, okay, just to put it into perspective, just so you can understand what's going on, this is roughly 2 weeks, okay, and this is where you're at. Okay, you're up 17 points or 20% on this trade. Okay, you were never down in it. So, the NASDAQ's not the issue. It's stock selection that is the problem that people are having. So if you're having those kinds of issues, start looking about how you can just simply juice your return through 3x ETFs. We tried this on biotech. That did not work. It worked excellent and is continuing to work on the SOXL, which you can consider as well. But because I do think there's another move there. But as far as the week, I think this is setting up again. And I think we're going to get to this 120 faster than people think. So this is one we've been in the newsletter for a while, and we've done very well with. We got in at 26.75. Look, we haven't even really gotten into taking a profit on it. I really haven't even brought it up yet. The way that this looks is staggering. I mean, it is just classic. Wedge breakout, higher. Supports or resistances become supports. Wedge, look at the flag, breakout. Constantly seeing it. Now, if you look at this upper trend here, okay, you can see where I was going when I was saying resistance is here. Well, resistance is moving. Resistance is a moving target when you start looking at upper end trend lines. So by the time it gets here now we're up to here. Now we're up to about 36. So I think there's plenty of room left in this. Now, if you go through the indicators and just look at the bells and whistles, you'll see the volumes picking up. The RSI is turning up. Okay, I'm accelerating here. The 5 and the 8 are now, support. This is setting up to move higher. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it break out of this channel and continue to go because it's a newer issue in a hot space. So that's it as far as the stocks to buy. I just want to point out 2 different ideas on how to trade. So what's going on here, and I'm going to just show this on Planter so people can see this, because this is a name I'm constantly asked about, and people love it, and I get it. Look, we were in this back here in the newsletter, and we did exceptionally well with it, and then we broke this resistance or support back into resistance, and we got out of the rest of it, and we did very well. We really didn't play around with it since then, I think once or twice in here, but that was the moneymaker to us. Now, what's going on here is pretty technical stuff, and I just want to point this out because it's really clear how I won't say it's clear because that's not accurate, because people are having a hard time with it. They're not getting it. So what's happening here is you're being batted around. Not just you, everybody's being batted around in this market. And they're being batted around on these smaller names that are easily manipulated by institutions. Okay, they're waiting for these days. They're waiting for your special software day where Planter is going to show how they're going to control the world, and they're waiting for you to buy that breakout, and then they're slapping you down. It's why in the newsletter, and why I'm going to tell you here as well, you need to be looking at where these things close. Okay, I've been preaching that for a while now. They cannot manipulate the close of the stock. They can manipulate the stock during the day in price action by buying and selling it. They cannot do that as well into the close. It's just not possible because of the volume that goes into open and close moves. So with understanding that, what they're really doing and have been doing for months is just slapping us when we get to a resistance that we think we're going to break out and then don't, and then causing us pain. Think differently about where they're going to wind up getting out of their short position versus where you're going to get into your long position. Just try to change your thinking for a little bit and picture if you were short where you would be looking to get out of. Okay, so one gentleman really wants to own this stock, and what I said to him was, look at this 2236 level. Look how it can't stay below there. If I was short up here, I'd be looking for this here. So instead of waiting for this to break out here, if you truly want to be in names like this that are doing it, and I'm going to show you one more after this that's a textbook example, I would wait until we're below this line and then look for a simple reversal bar like this. And then if that's how you want to be in it, when you get to this level, consider what you want to do. If you want to hold it, move your stop to break even. If you want to hold it or you want to blow it out, it's up to you. But think about buying these on support levels when they break and then reverse back up through the support level versus looking for the breakout of resistance levels. I hope that makes sense. So in this example, you'd be looking at buying 22.36. Below that, waiting for some kind of reversal. That reversal could even be in a 15-minute or hourly chart. You do not need to wait on that reversal for the day. Like if you waited for the reversal here, you wouldn't have done as well. You'd have to do it on a 15-minute or an hourly chart. But when you see that pattern, take advantage. Now, this is one that we have been in and out of in the newsletter, got stopped out, and I just want to walk people through it. Okay? Very similar trade. I don't need anything else here. I don't need my special clouds. I don't need moving averages. You can just read price and what's going on here. Okay? And that's what I'm trying to get you to do, because that's all the people that are playing whack-a-mole right now are doing. They're waiting for it to break out and they're smacking us. So let's just walk through it. Boom, hits here, doesn't break, comes back, tests major support, right? Breaks through it, we break back over it. Okay, so just so we're clear, I'm going to go to this on the weekly very quickly, and then I want to get back to the daily. This 17.99, okay, that is major support, right? And that's where it comes from, the inception of the stock. Look what's going on here. Every single time that it gets above that line, and I was guilty of it this week. I went long here and got out because it didn't work. Now, the next time that it rallied down to here, this is where you buy it, at 18. If you bought it at the 18, it rallied right through it and didn't work. Okay, it was funny because I was talking to one gentleman and I actually shorted it here, not because I thought that it was going to completely collapse, but I'm like, oh, this is a very simple trade to do. I shorted it through a large selling calls, because I want to own the stock. So I figured, okay, if it goes down or it continues to rally, the time value, the depreciation, I'll just buy the stock against it. It'll lower my cost. So, but I figured it'd go back down to 18. So when it went to 18, what did I do? I closed the calls out and I bought the stock. That's where you want to be buying these kinds of smaller names. You have to start thinking a little bit differently as how these people that are, for lack of a better term, screwing with us, how they're thinking and what they're looking for. They're looking for the breakouts, just like they did in, RBLX. They're looking for the breakouts, and then they're looking to crush you. And you can't do that in larger cap names, which is why I'm trying to get people to focus on larger cap names right now. So that's it in a nutshell. Hope you found this helpful. Consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications. There should be another video today, later, on candlesticks, more advanced techniques, 5 different patterns to look for. That video is pretty helpful, and I'll link the older one to this one that gives the basics. And we'll go from there. Have a great day, everyone.